Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
Greetings, my friends, and welcome to the Rush Limbaugh program. And I have to tell you, you are among, if not the most intelligent consumers of media in the country today. You have to be, as I'm your host. And as I look at the media landscape, which followed this program yesterday, man, is it stunning. Anyway, great to have you here. The telephone number, if you want to be on the program, is 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. Let me review here for just a second. I'm in a quandary here. I mean, I've got the audio soundbite roster today, and I am it. And as you know, that makes me profoundly uncomfortable. I am not one of these people who wants to make everything about me. I really am not, and you people know that. But I spent, for those of you who were here, yes, this will remind you, for those of you who weren't, I spent arguably yesterday's entire program pouring out my soul to you people and explaining to you how I arrive at the places I get to, and how sometimes it's very challenging because over the years I've gotten to know all of the people that are the newsmakers in the recent spate of news stories related to the Republican presidential campaign. Some of them I count among my best friends, and I've known them for over 30 years, 25, 30 years, and yet here I am thrust into a position, not complaining about it, where I have to be able to put all that aside and get right down to what I think about it, whatever it is from issue to issue, because it's all about you, meaning being truthful to what your expectations of this program are and of me. And so I said, particularly the first hour yesterday, I spent, you know what, actually the first 90 minutes, the first hour and a half of this program, I spent a lot of time and concentrated, focused on trying just to explain all of the elements. Did not come down on one side or the other. I just tried to analyze and explain it, and then I watched what happens with that in the rest of the media is stunning. The lack of depth, and I mean this, the lack of ability to understand nuance. And yesterday wasn't that nuanced. It was pretty cut and dried. You didn't have to read between the lines of what I was saying. That's why I went to such lengths to be as perfectly clear as I could. And yet, the rest of the drive-by media, which follows the program, can't get past the horse race. You know, yesterday's program it held particularly deep meaning for me. And last night, throughout the night, watching cable news or hearing about it, I actually didn't watch it. It's amazing how the drive-by media just reduces everything to the horse race. And the conclusion, what they apparently picked up from our 3-hour program yesterday was that I was siding with Donald Trump over Fox News, over the Republican candidates. That's how they analyzed it. I didn't side with anybody. I haven't sided with anybody. During primaries, I never do side with anybody. There's nothing unusual about what's going on here. What I endeavor to do is analyze and explain it. And the whole point of yesterday's program was to try to explain to people how in the world somebody like Trump, busting convention, doing everything everybody says you're not supposed to do, how can he be, according to the polls, running away with this? How can a guy who's not going to show up on TV dominate TV? How can a guy who announced he's not going to participate own it? I endeavored to explain this yesterday. And I made it very clear that what Trump is doing is breaking every political formula that exists. He's busting all the convention, and nobody can figure it out. Everybody follows the formula. Everybody plays the game. The rules of the game have been set by tradition and experience, and it's expected that you are to follow those rules. The elites in any organization are exclusionary, and their job is to keep newbies out, particularly newbies that are violating the rules. They're not only not to get in the club, they are not to win if they sneak into the club. All of that's being violated. I attempted to explain it, and I thought I did rather well, but it was reduced to Limbaugh. Here, taking sides with Trump, CNN, other cable networks, and so forth. So now I'm in a quandary here. I've got all these audio sound bites, and they all talk about me and what I said. They play the clips of what I said and still don't get it. I guess it could be fun reviewing that, but it makes me uncomfortable being the focus of everything here. But really, the takeaway here is, and I think all of you in this audience get it. You understand the mainstream media. They want you to believe that they are the smartest, the brightest, the most experienced, the greatest analysts. Only they have the experience, the knowledge, the contacts to be able to analyze, dig deep, and explain things to you that you otherwise wouldn't know. And that is a joke, because they can't get past the horse race aspect of everything, mixed in with their own personal biases. Like, I kind of jumped on Fox a little bit yesterday, and I don't consider it jumping on Fox. I expressed I was surprised. Okay, so here's a candidate running for President Trump. He says, you know what, I'm not going to do your debate. Okay, fine, you're not going to do our debate? Fine, we won't miss you. Go ahead and do what you want to do. Go to Canada, have a debate with Cruz, whatever you said you're going to do, but we are going to do the debate, and here's the rest of the news, and let it be done with, instead of turning the whole rest of the night over to how you've been jilted. Well, CNN came along last night and violated every other rule. They turned over their whole night to Fox News. I have never, why in the world would you spend 4 hours talking about your competitor? Even if you think you're criticizing, even if you think you're bringing people on who you think are criticizing them, you don't you don't help them out that way. You're about violating rules, but they are so eager. You know, Fox is the king of the hill. Fox is just 3, 4, 5 times bigger than their nearest competitor. And so they'll take any opportunity they think they've got to whittle Fox down to size, using other people to do it because they haven't figured out how to do it on their own with their own programming. So I guess CNN figures that their audience wants to tune in and watch Fox get beat up. What kind of audience do you have if that, and you're a cable news network, and you think your audience wants to hear Fox News get beat up? This stuff has gotten so inside baseball, it's become so personal that there's degrees of malpractice going on out there regarding journalism. Nothing new, I understand. I'm just further analyzing this for you as I see it. What do you think, Snerdley? Should I play some of these sound bites? Yeah, see, you never say no to that. You know, you're just all in there because you think there's all. Yeah, well, let's start and give some examples. What do we have first here? CBS Evening News. Major Garrett, formerly of Fox News. CBS Evening News last night. Here is, what is this? It's a portion of his report. And this one, they're trying to figure out what side I'm on. See, I have to be on a side. I have to have chosen a side here. I mean, that's just the way it works. Because Rush is talk radio. Talk radio, not deep. Talk radio is just, a bunch of idiots. So Rush has to have taken a side. What side did Rush take? Anyway, here's Major Garrett in the South that started.
Trump did get support from influential conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh.
I got news for you. He is controlling the media, and it's his objective. He is controlling the media. He controls the media when he's not on it. He controls the media when he is on it. He controls the media when he's asleep.
By Fox's count, Trump has appeared on the network 132 times during the campaign, far more than any of his Republican rivals. Trump is now challenging the network's well-defined role in the Republican nomination conversation.
Right. So Trump got support from me. I wasn't supporting Trump. I wasn't criticizing Trump. I was simply explaining how all this, in my opinion, is happening. There are a lot of people, starting with the Republican establishment, who can't figure this out. And a lot of other people as well. And they're out there saying, you can't control him. You can't tell the media what to do. Well, he is. My only point was to illustrate he is controlling the media no matter where he goes, where he doesn't go, no matter whether he's awake or asleep. Somehow that ends up, and Rush Limbaugh took Donald Trump's side today on talk radio. Here's NBC, the Today Show today, correspondent Peter Alexander, and his report on all this.
Rushing to Trump's defense, Rush Limbaugh.
Donald Trump knows that by not showing up, he's owning the entire event.
Our new NBC News Wall Street Journal Marist poll out just this morning shows that Trump has now catapulted back into first place ahead of Ted Cruz here in Iowa by 7 points. His lead in New Hampshire is even wider, closer to 20 points. And remember that no non-incumbent Republican candidate has ever won both Iowa and New Hampshire.
How is it that stating the obvious has become partisan? All that was a statement of what's obvious. Trump is controlling the media. By not showing up, he's owning the entire event. That was reported as me rushing to Trump's defense. Running to Trump's defense? I'm simply repeating the obvious. And in addition to that, I was reacting to what some other people were out there saying. He can't control the media. Who does he think he is? And hey, wake up, gang. He is controlling the media. It's all it was. That's not all it was, Rush. You're taking Trump's side. Everybody can hear it. No, only a small mind who can't get past horse race thinking would even have that occur to them. Now, here's John Heilemann. He and Mark Halperin, another couple here that are credited with some of the greatest brains in American political reporting. These are the guys that write books during the campaign. They learn all kinds of stuff that might affect people's votes, but they don't release any of it until after the election so that they can personally profit from it by selling their book. Fine. That's how they do it. They are considered to be some of the sharpest minds in American political analysis. So we start with Heilemann, who has to suggest here that what they're doing is investigating what was said from the far-right precincts of talk radio land.
Speaking from the far-right precincts of talk radio land, Rush Limbaugh said, quote, "In this business, one of the games is that when the media calls, you answer, and when the media wants you, you go. That's the game. Trump is so far outside this game. He's so far outside the rules. He's never been a player in this game. He's always been an outsider."
And I further said that it's so far outside the game, the people inside the game haven't the slightest idea what he's doing. They don't know how he's doing it, and it's got them scared to death because it's so outside the formula. They don't know how to deal with it. They've toyed with changing debate rules. They've toyed with changing the convention rules. They've toyed with trying to take Trump out during debates. They don't know how to deal with it because he's so outside the game, the way this is always done. You ever worked at a place? You're new on the job, and somebody tells you to do something that seems crazy? Well, that's the way we've always done it. Well, that's American political party structure. That's the way we've always done it. And that's the way they're always going to do it. Because the power people, the elites, determine the way it's always been done, the way it's going to continue to be done. Somebody comes along and challenges that. Not welcome. We're not even going to like you. We're not even going to let you in the club. The guy storms in the club, then wins everything, makes it look like the guys running the club don't have the slightest idea what they're doing. It's Panic City. Not one word of that is in support of Trump. I'm just telling you what's going on. These guys, Halperin and Heilemann, doing their own version of analysis. Here's what Halperin says following Heilemann's venture into the far-right precincts of talk radio land.
My initial impulse was this was good for him, a moment of strength. He doesn't need the debate. That means a lot of the debate will be about beating up Ted Cruz. And Trump does best, like most candidates, when he's acting from his heart and his gut. And he was insulted by Fox News and doesn't want to be part of their debate. Since then, I've heard people, I was talking to one of the smartest people I know and covers politics, who said this could be a big mistake. I'm not convinced that this is a mistake. Iowans, I think, might, under other circumstances, mind.
Did you hear that? Mark Halperin came out supporting Trump. Did you hear that? Let it ring across the country. Mark Halperin just sided with Donald Trump. An independent journalist who makes up his mind never doesn't announce so he's just endorsed Trump. See? That's how it works. Now back to John Heilemann following that latest comment.
I think by and large the same thing that you think, which is that one day later, what has not happened is the world has not come crashing down on his head. He's been praised for being strong, and he is looking like Limbaugh said. I hate to find myself agreeing with Rush, but he looks like he's bigger than Fox News.
They just can't stand it. They just... the arrogance. Only they. See, these guys have their own club, and I'm not welcome. Only they are allowed to do analysis. Only they are allowed to pontificate. Only they are allowed to be taken serious. Here I come from the far-right precincts of talk radio. We can't have that. This guy Limbaugh is an intruder. He's not paid his dues. He didn't go to college. He hadn't written any stories. He hadn't worked at any think tanks. He's never worked for a ham sandwich. What is this guy? Comes in, storms the country, takes over talk radio, but thinks he's an expert. Screw that. We're not allowing that. That's how I know how this stuff works, folks. Anyway, brief timeout. Don't go away. Be right back. Hi, how are you? Welcome back, folks. Great to have you. Rush Limbaugh here, the cutting edge of societal evolution. Anyway, there are, I don't know how many more sound bites like that from CNN and any number of places. Folks, it makes me uncomfortable to sit here and play these sound bites, these people talking about what I said when I've already said it, and you heard it yesterday. And to sit here and have to come and correct them again when they're never going to get it right, it just all seems like a waste of time to me. And it makes me nervous. Yes, now see, Snerdley's lobbying me. You got to keep going because there's a lot of new people tuning in. They hear your name talked about on CNN. They wonder what's going on, and you've got to take advantage of it. I understand that, but it is a quandary. I'm telling you, maybe a dilemma. But it is. It's just sit here, and we know they get things wrong. What's obvious is they're incapable of getting it right. Is the thing. It's a waste of time because they have their narrow vision in which they look at every political event. And we're talking about these people. It's all about, can they save Hillary Clinton? Whatever is happening on the Republican side. And wherever there are advocates for the Republican side, meaning anybody supports Trump, anybody supports Cruz, the so-called conservative media, these people out there in the so-called drive-bys or mainstream media are focused on one thing, and that is ultimately getting Hillary Clinton elected. And so when they endeavor to discuss people who are conservatives in politics, conservatives in media, there's never an effort to get it right. There's always an air of condescension and arrogance that is, it's more and more obvious each and every day. And they're very worried right now because Hillary seems to be falling apart. Bernie Sanders is just skyrocketing now. And now Susan Sarandon has come out for Bernie. They can't find any women in Hollywood for Hillary. Then the FBI thing is lurking out there, and there are a lot of people getting really, really nervous, particularly in the mainstream media and Democrat Party side as well, because nothing's going the way it was supposed to go there. Half my brain tied behind my back just to make it fair. El Rushbo behind the golden EIB microphone, 800-282-2882. All right, I polled the staff. The staff says, we love it when the sound bites are about you. Okay, so, and Snerdley says, you got it, you got it, you got it, you got it. There's all kinds of new people tuning in. You don't realize what's happening out there, Rush. I mean, you are the sole focus. You got it, you got it, you got it. Okay, I get it. So we left off with John Heilemann after he had explained how uncomfortable it was to delve into the far-right precincts of talk radio, and then ended up agreeing with what he heard me say, even though it pained him to realize that was happening. We now go to CNN and Aaron Burnett out front. Here is a portion of a report from Jim Acosta. And it's along the same lines as everything you've heard up to now.
It's worth pointing out Donald Trump is finding an ally in Rush Limbaugh, who said on his radio show today that Fox News is acting like it's been jilted at the altar. And once again, Trump has found a new way to dominate the coverage in this race for the GOP nomination. And talking to people in this conservative crowd, Aaron, it is clear many here will be watching Trump tomorrow night, not Fox News.
No, look, folks, I'm not hypersensitive about this being accused of finding what, and I should know this well enough now not to be disappointed by it. As I say, I really dug deep yesterday in a serious effort to analyze and explain this, because, as I said, everybody about whom I was going to speak yesterday is a friend to one degree or another. And it's very, very hard to speak about people who are friends. It's easier when you don't know the people you're talking about. But I can't, if I'm to meet the expectations you have here every day, I can't let all of that cloud or dilute what I think or say. So everything yesterday occurred under those auspices, if you will. And to hear it reduced, this is, folks, I told yesterday why I don't like doing TV. This is one of the reasons why. Now I know that these clowns are not going to listen for an hour or even 30 minutes, much less an hour and a half. I know they're not going to listen, period. I know that some producer is going to find some 10-second clip and play it for them. Oh, yeah. Limbaugh taking Trump's side. That's then going to form and shape the entire evening's coverage. I understand that, but I want to point this out because these are the people who claim to be in-depth analyzers, analysts, in-depth understanding the stuff that you're not capable of knowing because you're not close enough. And it's clear that they're not able to get beyond their narrow blinders here of the story is written before they even do it. They come up with what they want the story to be. They find the elements that they want to include in it to prove their contention. They have to cherry pick, they do. All of this is known. None of it's a surprise. But in itself, this is another bit of analysis and exposition about how these people do it. This is Acosta. Up next, little Brian Selter, also at CNN. He's their media expert. Brian Stelter is the media expert that tells everybody else how to understand what the media is doing. Not just CNN's media, but every media. So Aaron Burnett and Brian Stelter go back and forth about what it all meant yesterday.
People are now choosing sides, with influential conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh siding with Trump, saying Fox is acting jilted.
Donald Trump knows that by not showing up, he's owning the entire event. Some guy not even present will end up owning the entire event.
So who needs who more, Fox or Trump? Thursday's ratings might start to answer that key question.
And people are now choosing sides. Influential conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh is siding with Trump, saying Fox is acting jilted. Let me explain that again for the newbies that Mr. Snerdley has referred to. And there are. We are getting tune-in factor to this program like you can't believe. We're growing here in geometric proportions. And my point about being jilted was, here's Fox is going to televise a debate, and it's going to be tonight. And one of the participants, one of the candidates, says, you know what, I'm not going to debate. I'm not showing up. I don't like one of your moderators. Your moderator is unfair to me. Whatever reason he gives, he's not showing up. And Fox acted like it was the end of the world. And they spent a lot of time that night analyzing what it all meant for them and why it was happening and so forth. And my only point was that, well, I don't know. This is tough, folks. It's really tough. I would. It's easy for me to say I'm not there. There's stuff going on, other places of business that I'm not privy to and don't know, obviously. But if Donald Trump was scheduled to be here as a guest, which we don't do, but if Trump were going to be here as a guest and called and canceled, I wouldn't devote the following 3 hours to, gee, I wish he was here. Why did he cancel? What does it mean for me and for this program? I just go and do something else. Trump canceled, said he was going to be here, but he's not. Bam, done it. Move on. But to devote all this time, and I understand there's a new media today, and that is make it about you rather than what you're covering in the news. And so that just makes me nervous, as all of this is making me nervous. So that's little Brian. There's more for little Brian. Let me get to the next page. They happen to stick together. Erin Burnett herself. This is just play it. I don't even know what it is before I air it. So here
Rush Limbaugh had this to say about Trump's decision today.
I got news for you. He is controlling the media, and it's his objective. He is controlling the media. He controls the media when he's not on it. He controls the media when he is on it. He controls the media when he's asleep. That's about the fourth time I've heard that clip. Obviously, this bugs him. Okay, so in all these, that's the fourth time they have played that clip about how Trump owns the media. That scares all of them in the media, by the way, folks. That's not supposed to happen. Nobody they cover except the Kennedys is supposed to be bigger than the media. They allowed the Kennedys to be bigger than the media, and some communists who they loved Gorbachev. Gorbachev could do no wrong, for example, but somebody like Trump is not supposed to control or own the media. Probably not happy that I was pointing it out either. Here's David Rodham Gergen. David Rodham Gergen, also on CNN, same show, Erin Burnett. This is the guy you probably say does define whatever conventional wisdom in Washington is. If you want to know what the elites, the power brokers, the majority of the powerful in Washington think at a given moment, go ask David Gergen what's on his mind, and you'll find out.
I think that what Americans are looking for now, who are scared and anxious about the future, is somebody who is strong and decisive, and somebody who is willing to stand up to vested interests in this country and say, sometimes you get it wrong. And, if you want to insult me, I'm not going to walk into some setup on your debate. This statement that they issued, the extraordinary statement they issued, signaled that he was going to be very likely walking into a setup. And why should he go timidly into that? Why shouldn't he say, hey, wait a minute, if you go over the line, I'm not playing?
Well, David Rodham Gergen is using my exact line of thinking. I chose different words. I said, in Trump's mind, why should he give them the gun and the bullet and then go stand still as a target? He's got experience. He's got intelligence. He knows what happened the last time. Why put himself in front of it again? That's all I was suggesting was the explanation for this. The explanation for this. It's not that he's afraid of Megyn Kelly. It's not that he's afraid of anybody. It's that why should you put yourself in a circumstance where previously somebody tried to harm you? Why do it again? Well, the rules say that you have to show up. You have to be bigger than the media. You have to take those assaults on the media. That's the game. The media, if you're going to run for president, you have to be able to take questions. No matter what the question is, you are to respect it and you are to answer it. Because if you can't deal with the media, how can we trust you to deal with X, like Putin or the Ayatollah or Mao Zedong or the Castros or whoever you fill in the blank with? That's always been the way they do this. What, you're afraid of the media? You can't handle a question from Megyn Kelly? Can't handle a question from Sam Donaldson? Well, how are you going to deal with Mikhail Gorbachev? That's I've never thought that was a sensible way of looking at things. The sensible way of looking at it is, why, whether you're running for president or whether you're a CEO or whether you're just any average, ordinary, run-of-the-mill newsmaker from day to day, what is the sense in openly making yourself available to be ridiculed, impugned? If they're going to do it anyway, and you show up in a format where you are, by definition of the rules, limited in how you can respond to it, why go there and be made to stand like a sitting duck And because the rules, you have to play nice and be polite, and you can't, they have all the cards. Media holds all the cards. They can say, do whatever they want, ask you any question, and the rules say you're supposed to sit there and take it. And all I'm pointing out is that Donald Trump is saying, no, I am not going to do that. That's not smart. Read my book, The Art of the Deal. This is not how you get what you want. Can I tell you what we're watching here? If you really want to get down to brass tacks, if you want to know what's going on between Trump and Fox News and Trump and the rest of the media, if you want to know, if you really want to understand this, you are watching a Trump negotiation that you never normally would see. Most negotiations take place behind closed doors, whatever they are. Negotiating a compensation package, negotiating a deal between countries, a deal between one business and another, whatever it might be. They never do those in public. Nobody sees those talks. And when they're over with, there's a mutual announcement. Happy today that the XYZ Widget Company and the ABC News Media Company have reached agreement on a new accord to do blah, blah, whatever it is. And everybody goes, has a cocktail at the end of the day. But you never see how they got there. What you're seeing here, this is Trump. This is how he negotiates. It's all there. Book, The Art of the Deal. When to walk away, when to have the courage to walk away, when to say no, when to mean it. You're watching a negotiation. He doesn't think the rules, the setup is advantageous based on previous experience, so he's not going to do it again. It's so far outside the rules that it's considered rude. It's considered to be obstinate. It's considered to be arrogant. Who is this upstart? Who is it that thinks he's bigger than the rules? This stuff all reminds me of Steve Jobs in a way. Steve Jobs used to, one of his big advertising slogans early on in the days of Apple was Think Different. And Jobs would constantly tell people, why do you assume everybody's smarter than you are? Just because they've got the job and you don't? Just because they're in a position and you're not? Why do you accept that? You accept that because of the rules. You accept that because that's just the way things always are. Somebody earns more than you, they've got to be smarter. Somebody has a job more powerful than yours, they've got to be smarter. They've got to be better. Don't think that way. Don't naturally subordinate yourself to everybody. Just because you're not in the club that's making the rules does not mean they know more than you do about how to be best for yourself. And Jobs' point was so few people ever actually stand up for themselves. It's considered too risky. It's safer to conform. It's safer to go by the rules. It's just safer to let everything fall out as it's supposed to and try to make your mark within those confines. But when you do it that way, you're still waiting on somebody above you to anoint you and grant you the permission to climb the next rung on the ladder rather than just doing it on your own and letting the chips fall. That's the way corporate structures. I worked for a corporation for 5 years and found out after year 3, I'm not made for that because I'm not a conformist. And I don't have 40 years to wait to climb the ladder to do what the rules of that game say you have to do to become a VP. And that's all Trump's doing here. He's taking the way he lives his life and always has. And this does not equal support for Trump. I'm explaining it. The way he lives his life, the way he always has, and he's decided he wants to get into politics, and he's going to continue to run by his rules. He's not going to sit there and willingly let people take shots at him just because that's what you always have to do if you want to be elected president. You've got to go through the media gauntlet. No, he doesn't, he's saying. Anyway, I got to take a break. I'm way long here. Next segment's going to be short. I apologize in advance. Let's get started on the phones. Rush Limbaugh with half my brain tied behind my back. I do that just to be fair. It's a fair thing to do. And this is Scott in Lyons, Ohio. Great to have you on the program. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Limbaugh. It's an honor to talk to you today. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet, sir. Thank you.
And my question is just that, in my mind, I'm comparing the CNBC debate, after which the RNC and the entire field decided to cut ties. They call it cutting ties, or backing out of any of the NBC debates, because they feel that the questions asked were treated unfairly the previous debate, CNBC. And I'm wondering in my mind, what's the difference between Trump feeling that he was treated unfairly and the entire field and the RNC feeling that they were treated unfairly?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. The question came up yesterday. And you're right. Let's just review here. For the sake of memory refreshment. The CNBC debate that he's talking about is the one where about 30 minutes into it, Ted Cruz had enough. Some inane question about whether somebody wears diapers or not. Whatever it was that inane. And Ted Cruz, that's it. You know what? We have been here a half hour, and you have... And he recited every meaningless, worthless, silly, insulting question everybody had asked. And the place erupted in applause. And the moderators at CNBC loved it. They were big smiles on their face because they had succeeded in making themselves the story, which is what modern-day media wants to do. They want to be the story, and they want to be the arbiters. They want to determine who wins, and they want to pick our candidate, okay? So when it was over, it was so bad that the RNC said, oh, you know what? We're through with NBC. We've got a debate coming on NBC, but we're not going to do it because you guys are so bad in the way you ask questions. Everybody, yeah, right on, man. Way to stand up for yourselves, everybody said. Way to be tough. Trump comes along and backs out. And it's not quite... See, I'm up against it on time here. Hang in here, folks. I'll finish this and leave. Trump is just actually following the advice I and many of you have given Republicans for years when it comes to the mainstream drive-by media, anyway. What changes this is that Fox is involved, but more in a moment. And greetings, my friends, and welcome back. It's great to have you, Rush Limbaugh, having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have. Despite everything, I wouldn't trade a moment of it. Happy to be here, folks. Fighting the battles each and every day behind the golden EIB microphone. Grab audio soundbite number 27. We're bleeding over into the sports world again today. Here's the phone number if you want to be on the program, 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. Do you remember way back, there was a time way back where I worked at ESPN for 5 weeks. You remember that? I was a participant on the Sunday morning pregame show. And then an episode occurred where the discussion took place over the quarterback at the time of the Philadelphia Eagles, Donovan McNabb. And 2 days after that show aired on a particular Sunday, the Philadelphia sports media blew up, and I ended up resigning from ESPN for a whole host of reasons. And again, there was an example where something I was said was totally distorted and taken out of well, it wasn't taken out of context. It was just purposely misunderstood, purposely misreported. Have you heard of Cam Newton? The name Cam Newton ring a bell? Who is he? All right. Cam Newton's a quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. Do you know what Cam Newton did yesterday? Cam Newton came out and said the reason people are afraid of him is that he's a black quarterback. He's doing what he's doing. People don't like all the... He did. All the endless celebrations, all the constant happiness, redefining the way the position is played, whatever. It's because he's a black quarterback and people still just not comfortable with it. And people still don't quite get it. And that's... Now, I wasn't aware anybody was having a problem with Cam Newton. I hadn't the slightest idea that Cam Newton was being criticized by anybody for anything. All I've ever seen is endless praise for the guy, deservedly so. Drafted in 2011, here we are winning the NFC Championship 5 years later and going to the Super Bowl. So I was kind of shocked when he said this, but I said, okay, then they're done that. Doesn't involve what I'm doing now, so I'll leave it aside. Well, it turns out, even when I leave it aside, ESPN doesn't. This afternoon, on a program on ESPN2 called His and Hers, during a discussion about Cam Newton's remarks that what he said, Mr. Sturdley, what he really said, he scares people because he's African American. That's what he said. The reason people are afraid of him, which is news to me. I didn't know anybody was afraid unless the guy's about to run over you and you have to tackle him. I can understand being a little fearful, but I didn't know that there was an ongoing fear of Cam Newton. But he says there is, and it's because he's black. So the title of this program at ESPN, His and Hers, and they were talking about Cam Newton and his remarks that he scares people because he's an African-American quarterback and people have nothing to compare him to. So people are scared. People, they don't know what to make of Cam Newton because he's African-American and there's nobody to compare him to. So Michael Smith, who is one of the co-hosts, had a comment, and this is it.
I am not going to appeal to the least common denominator when it comes to the conversation about Cam. I'll do it today because he went there. But to me, and I'll channel my inner Rush Limbaugh here, are the media so desirous, so hungry for a storyline, for a lightning rod, for a polarizing figure, that we're actually inventing one? There's nothing new under the sun here. Let's not get so caught up in the moment where we forget that he's not the first quarterback. And let's just talk black quarterbacks. He's not the first black quarterback to dance.
All right. You heard it. You heard it right. Yes. Oh, yeah, that's the point. This guy, Michael Smith, who's been at ESPN for a while, knew from the get-go what I said. Knew from the get-go that I was being critical of the media. And this guy even admits he's channeling his inner Rush Limbaugh. Are the media so desirous, so hungry for a storyline, for a lightning rod, for a polarizing figure? We're inventing one? That's the exact thing, or very close to it, that I said that was intolerable at ESPN. I was accused of violating some mythical promise I'd never made, not to inject politics in the show, while everybody else around me on that show was. My, how times have changed. Now, the very thing that I accused the media of doing, another ESPN reporter comes close. Well, he's not coming close. He is accusing them of the same thing. Inventing something that doesn't exist. Fascinating. What were those two ESPN years? Was it 2005? The years run together, and 2005 seems like yesterday to me, so I don't know what my year at ESPN was. It might have been 2002. At any rate, we're back, and I just had to share that with you, folks, because it's unbelievable. I don't channel my inner Rush Limbaugh here and say, are we in the media so desirous? And 2003, 13 years ago, unbelievable. 13 years ago, 13 years later, Michael Smith at ESPN decides to reprise Rush Limbaugh. Now, back to what our last caller said. I'm not trying to slough that under the rug. It's a really good point, and we talked about it yesterday, and that is that on the CNBC debate, after a half hour of just inane, insulting questions, Ted Cruz puts a stop to it. The important thing to remember here is that the CNBC people, the moderators, they loved the fact that they had become the story. Don't kid yourself. The media loves it when they become the story. And don't forget something else. When we're talking about mainstream media, drive-by media, they want to select the Republican nominee. They want to be the focus, and they want to have that power. They want whoever the nominee is to have to go through them. And so the RNC stood up and said, you know what? We've got a future debate on NBC, but we're going to cancel it. Your moderator's behavior was so egregious and so insulting and so puerile and so infantile, focusing on things that nobody cares about. We are not, this is what the RNC essentially said, we are not going to give you the chance to make fun of us, to impugn us, to whatever you tried to do in this debate. We're not going to give you the chance to do it again. So our caller wanted to know, how is that any different than what Trump is doing? And in the broad sense, there isn't any difference, which is my whole point yesterday. But when the RNC does it, see, as in favor of a whole group, all the candidates, people stood up and cheered. Because this is the kind of behavior and backbone Republican voters have wanted to see from the Republican establishment. If the truth be known, this is the kind of behavior that the Republican establishment has not been willing to engage in that we have wanted them to. Just show some backbone, not some linguini spine. Show some backbone. Stand up. Don't take it. You don't have to take it just because they're the media and you're Republicans. Who says the game has to be played that way? So they backed out of it. We're not going to give you a chance to insult us that way again, where we just have to sit there and take it. So here comes Trump. The difference here is Fox is not consumed or assumed to be part of the mainstream media. Fox is, by definition and by acclamation, Fox is different and apart from the mainstream media, and it's only one guy pulling out, not the entire field. But it's still a good question. If it was okay for the RNC to pull out en masse from a future NBC debate, then why is it so bad that Trump is pulling out? Because of the way he thinks, and this is what he says, by the way. I think there's so much more going on here than we know. I don't think he's not afraid of Megyn Kelly, and he might be personally insulted over the way he was treated and doesn't want to give them a chance to do it again. By the way, let's ask ourselves a question. Let's say Trump is scheduled to be at the debate tonight and is going to show up. None of anything that's happened here has happened. He's not pulled out and decided to go. Let's just play a game here. Hypothetically, none of this happened. The debate is tonight, and it's going to be the second time Trump and Megyn Kelly encounter each other. What do you think? Did you think about this before any of this other stuff happened? Did you ask yourself, what does Megyn Kelly have to do tonight to maintain, say, credibility, or whatever? What pressures is she, in other words, pressured to not back down, to not be perceived as backing down at all? In other words, is Megyn Kelly telling herself she's got to come at Trump hard again, or people are going to not take her seriously? And what's Trump thinking? How does he behave? The way he behaved last time, people didn't like it, were a little critical. Does he tone it down and behave a little bit different? These are all questions that that's what we would be talking about right now if Trump hadn't pulled out. And other things, too. But if Trump hadn't pulled out, what everybody would be, I guarantee you, the focus, what's Megyn Kelly going to ask tonight? How's Megyn Kelly going to ask her question? Is Megyn Kelly going to get the first question to Trump? How's Fox going to deal with this? That's what everybody would be talking about right now. So Trump's pulled out, and people are still talking about Trump, but even while he's not there. But I maintain that there's not a whole lot of difference in the RNC telling NBC, sorry, treat us that way once, and that's the only time. We're not coming back. By the way, don't forget the RNC also told National Review, you know what? We don't want you helping us moderate any future debates. We're canceling your co-moderator status because of your anti-Trump issue. Trump is our front runner, and you've just run a whole issue on why he ought not be, why we ought to do everything we can to defeat Trump. We're not going to have you here moderating the debate. National Review said, okay, well, we kind of expected that. So it's okay for the RNC to broom National Review. It's okay for the RNC to tell NBC, sorry, we're not giving you another chance to hit us. Trump pulls out for arguably the same reasons, and the reactions are much different. When you can find commonality through each and every decision that we are talking about. Anyway, sit tight, folks. We'll come back and continue. People on the phones here with increasingly penetrating questions and comments, so don't go away. Mike Huckabee has announced he's going to show up at Trump tonight at Trump's pro-veteran event. that he's doing at the same time the Republican debates on Fox, CNN will be carrying the Trump event. Huckabee says he's going to go. Are you a little curious that some of the other Republican candidates have not taken the occasion to also cancel their appearance at the debate tonight? Since it's obviously a way to make news. Let's say you're pick anyone you want. Say you're Kasich. No, Kasich's too much of a rules guy. He's I guess there's none that would. They're conformists and follow rules. Let's say Jeb. Just make it up here. Say Jeb. You know what? I'm Jeb Bush, and I too am not going to. But Trump not there. The entire field is not going to be heard. This is not the way the voters of Iowa should be. We shouldn't allow the man who's not at the debate to capitalize all of the attention by virtue of the fact that he's not there. So I too am not going to go. Yeah, it sounds like a stretch. When I was thinking about it, I thought it might make sense. But now that I voice it, nah, it doesn't. Here's Bruce, Muskegon, Michigan. Great to have you on the EIB network. Hello.
Thanks, Russ, for taking my call.
You bet, sir.
I agree with you that what Trump has been saying for the last 6 months has been appealing to all of us frustrated Americans, or at least most of us frustrated Americans. His appeal, and I'll give him credit for it, has been that, I can get things done. But that doesn't necessarily make him a strong conservative or a person with, strong moral values, which I think we need in the next president. But having said all that, I think there's one flaw, fatal flaw, which I don't think you're recognizing, or at least I haven't heard you talk about it on the radio. And that flaw, I think, is the same flaw that we've seen in President Obama. Both of these men, I'm convinced, have narcissistic personalities. I mean, a person has an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for admiration, a lack of empathy for others, and behind this mask of ultra confidence, they have a low self-esteem and are very vulnerable to criticism. And this characteristic, which is I'm convinced Trump has, is one of many flaws we've been witnessing for the last 8 years in President Obama. And we just don't need another narcissist in the White House. And I just want you to comment on that.
I think Bill Clinton was in that list of people that you have just described as well.
Well, that's true, but just take this case last day before yesterday. He gets picked on, or he can't take a comment from Kelly on Fox News, Megyn Kelly, so he picks up his toys and goes home. He said,
do you really? Let me take the occasion of your call to put something out on the table. Do you really think that's what's going on? Do you really think Trump's deciding not to go because of what Megyn Kelly says about him, or because of a Fox?
Well, no. But no, you're right. I've been listening to you the last couple of days, and you're right. He's got everybody's attention. But that there again, that's a narcissistic characteristic. He has to be in the spotlight. I agree with you. He's controlling the media. He's controlling the situation. But when he can't control it, and this is the flaw that our President Obama has had. We've seen it in Obama for the last 8 years. He just can't be wrong. He just can't take criticism. I'm convinced he has low esteem, and I'm just so frustrated in seeing what's this characteristic in Obama, and I'm afraid that's exactly what Trump has.
Okay, so who out there does not have these characteristics, but yet satisfies you on issues that you think is?
I think I would vote for Carly. I would vote for Carson. I'd vote for Rubio or even Cruz. Any one of those four.
What do you mean, even Cruz?
Well, Cruz, I think I like Cruz. Okay, maybe I should have said even Cruz. Cruz, I think, is a very good candidate. I think he's very, very to the right. I'm very conservative, and I would certainly vote for him. I'm hoping. I don't think he could pull maybe as many independents in as Carly could. Carly would be very good. Carson would be good. I mean, Carson is a man that I just think he's great, but of course he doesn't get.
Well, he
doesn't get the press.
I mean, there's no finer man walking the planet than Dr. Carson.
But we need a strong conservative with moral values, Rush, and we need one who again, we don't need a narcissist in the White House, and that's what we've had for 8 years. And I'm convinced that that's what Trump is. And
is that what bothers you about Obama? That he's a narcissist?
No. All his policies. I mean,
well, no, it's a legitimate question. I understand that there are personal characteristic traits that drive people crazy. I have my own that I can't handle. I can't stand liars. I have no tolerance for people who are pathological liars to my face, who think that they are fooling me. I cannot help it. I expose them. I let them know, and that makes them dangerous. They become very dangerous. That's one of my pet peeves. Obama, there's no question he's a narcissist. He's a single, what is it, only child syndrome. He's been told how wonderful and great he is his whole life. But that alone is not problematic. You add that to his arrogance attached to the superior attitudes he has about his ideology, and it's a bad package. I have to agree with you. Your guiding light, Rush Limbaugh. Talent on loan from God. Happy to have you with us, folks. The telephone number, if you want to be on the program, is 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. Let's grab audio soundbite 15. I found some soundbites that are not about me. You know, I'm rethinking this whole Rush soundbite thing. And Cookie isn't going to like this. But I'm thinking about putting a ban on soundbites using me where they get it wrong. What is the incentive for these people to get it right? If I continue to give them all kinds of attention, you've had 27 years of them getting it wrong. What's the point of regaling it every day? Hey, folks, here's the media's latest example of making it up about me, or lying, or getting it wrong about me. Isn't this funny? Yuck, 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 yuck. Instead, we'll play sound bites when they get it right. Sound bites when they talk about me and get it right, that's when we'll use them. It's it's entertaining to hear me react when they get it wrong. I don't know. But we do have some sound bites. The Cookie just sent me some that are not about me. And I'm looking at, well, I thought so. Megyn Kelly giving an interview about her hair. Oh, yeah, O'Reilly begging Trump. Did you see that? O'Reilly begging Trump? O'Reilly begging the Trump to do the... Yeah. Grab soundbite 17 and 18. Trump did show up on Fox last night at 17, 18, and 19. Previously agreed to appearance. This was long ago scheduled, and Trump established a requirement. He told O'Reilly, "I'm only going to do this if you don't ask me about this debate that I pulled out of. Don't ask me about that, and we'll be cool. But don't ask me about the debate. If you do, we have a problem." And O'Reilly did. And he did more than that. So let's just go to the audio sound bites here. We'll start here with number 17. It's the O'Reilly factor last night. O'Reilly says, look, in your Christian faith, there's a very significant tenet, and that's the tenet of forgiveness. And I think you should forgive not only journalists who come at you in ways you don't like, but I think you should be the bigger man and say, you know what? I didn't like it. And you should make the case all day long, but I'm not going to take any action against it. You know, don't you think that's the right thing to do? So O'Reilly, now my question is, did somebody tell O'Reilly, look, you got to get him back. You got to go beg him. You got to make sure we get Trump in this debate. You got to do what it takes. Or is O'Reilly doing this on his own for the sake of the network? Folks, there's so much internal politics going on. You can't possibly imagine what all's going on. I know it. But you can't possibly imagine what's going on here. Anyway, this is what was reported as O'Reilly begging Trump to forgive Megyn Kelly. Here is the soundbite.
It probably is, but it's called an eye for an eye, I guess, also. You can look at it that way.
No. That's Old Testament.
Bill.
No.
You are taking
if you're the Christian, the eye for the eye rule goes out. Here's what it is. Turning the other cheek.
Bill, let me tell you, you're taking this much more seriously than I am. I'm not taking it seriously. I'm going to have a wonderful time tomorrow night at 9 o'clock at Drake University.
But you're depriving the people of seeing you in a forum they need to see you in.
No, we'll have a lot of press will be there and everybody. We're going to help a lot of veterans, whereas Fox is not giving anything to the veterans. I'm giving 100% to the veterans.
Right. So that was followed with O'Reilly saying, Putin's going to come at you. The mullahs are going to come at you. Certainly the terrorists are going to come at you. And it's going to be personal. They're going to do everything they can to diminish you. And as a president, you'll have to rise above that and do what's best for the country. And this exposition we're talking about today, people are going to say, Trump, he's just too self-absorbed to be president. He needs to look at the bigger picture.
There's got to be something because you set the all-time record in cable history, and so did CNN. And so
they want to know you,
Bill.
They want to know you, but by walking away from this debate, you're not giving them the opportunity to know them as well as they would like.
I'm not walking away.
That's really productive. You notice the two questions here so far. The two questions are, look, you got to be the bigger man. You have to forgive Megyn Kelly. You have to turn the other cheek. You have to be bigger than Fox News is. You have to do it, Donald. You're running for it. You have to do it. And then the second question was, and this is the way the rules of the game are. This is the way it comes down. Hey, you know what? You got to deal with Putin. You got to deal with the Ayatollahs. Terrorists are going to come at you. What, are you afraid of a little journalist? You can't do that. You got to face these people. And I have always been suspicious of that analogy. It's nothing more than the media using subterfuge to get their way. Because I don't think any of this is about fear. And I don't think it's about narcissism. I don't think Trump is afraid of Fox News, and I don't think he's afraid of Megyn Kelly, and I don't think he's afraid of the Ayatollahs, and I don't think he's afraid, not of what they would say. I don't think Trump's afraid of anything anybody would say here. I think there's far more depth to this. There are far greater, but see, nobody can look beyond the way we've all been trained to look at it formulaically. And the formula here, the rules of the game are, you've got to go. You've got to do it to me. You've got to answer their questions, no matter how infantile, no matter how insulting, no matter how puerile. You have to. That's part of being president. You've got to put yourself through that. You have to subject yourself to whatever indignities there are. That's the rule. That's the game. And if you don't do that, you're not proving you can take it. And we have somebody here who says, I don't want to do that. I'm going to try to get elected without having to go that route. Why should I? Why should I sit down and knowingly allow people to insult me, lie about whatever they're going to say? Why should I? And why do I have to take it? What does that say about me? What? How does that make me a bigger person to sit there? Because all presidents must have humility. We're not talking about humility here. You're talking stupidity. You want me to purposely sit there and let somebody insult me or treat me in an inane way, and I got to sit there and take it and swallow it because that's just what you do? Sorry, I have better things to do. And, folks, I'm telling you again, if none of this had happened, and do not doubt me on this, if none of this had happened, if this debate were scheduled and Trump was going to appear, what do you think the only thing they would have been talking about on cable news last night was? What do you think it was? It would have been Megyn Kelly. What kind of questions is she going to ask? What kind of attitude is she going to have? What's Trump going to do? How's Trump preparing for it? And they would be interviewing all these experts. What do you think the best way for Megyn Kelly to come at Trump in debate number 2, following what happened in debate when they replay the sound bites of Megyn Kelly asking a question and Trump answering it? Now we've got debate number 2. We've got face-off number 2, cage match number 1, however they set it up. What do you think, Megyn Kelly? You'd have been so sick and tired of hearing it by now, you might not have watched the debate. Because that would have been the focus. And on the other hand, same focus on Trump. How's he going to deal with whatever Megyn Kelly, and not just Megyn Kelly. You're going to have, who else? You're going to have Chris Wallace and Brett Baer. You know, and they might not have been happy the way Megyn Kelly was treated after the first. So maybe they're going to come in loaded for Baer. And again, if you follow me, what would therefore the focus of the second debate be? The media. And how they are going to behave. What will their strategy be? The objective, as you know, in many places in the media is to take people out. That is how, in certain areas of the drive-by media, you climb the ladder. You take somebody, you destroy their career, you expose them as a fraud, whatever. You take them out, that's how you climb the ladder. Good takedown, they will say. Don't let that braggart get away. Don't let that narcissist, don't let that big-headed egomaniac get away. A way to cut him down to size. So forth. And people would react, come on, I just want to hear what these guys think about X. I just want to hear what they think about the Keystone Pipeline. Could you stop it? And the truth is, people want to see the beatdown. People want to see the cage match. People want to see all this stuff. That gets reducto ad absurdum, as I so cleverly pointed out. Yes. Anyway, Trump's. I don't want to go there. I'm not afraid of anybody. Well, you can't be afraid of the Ayatollahs. I don't think fear is a factor here. The real question is this strategic, or is Trump just acting on impulse? Did he decide just 2 days ago, you know what, I don't want to do this debate? Or is he known for weeks he wasn't going to do it and has been waiting for the right time to make the announcement? Is it part of a long-term objective Trump has with somebody at Fox, the network at large, the media at large, and how he is going to be responding to them? Media needs access. They crave it. They demand it. They want it. One thing you're watching here, you're watching Donald Trump negotiate in public. This is a negotiation. And I know he's got the veterans thing tonight that he's doing, and Huckabee has announced that he's going to show up over there. Would you be surprised, any of you, if Trump actually shows up at the debate tonight? You would or wouldn't? You'd both be surprised. Would you be surprised if Trump walks in around halfway into the debate, in a commercial break, walks in and tries to assume his place, even though there won't be one, tries to assume his place on stage, deciding after watching the first hour of it that it's so boring and the show needs him so badly that he's decided to put aside his feelings for Megyn Kelly and help Fox save their show? You can't see that happening. You cannot see that happening. Do you think that at some point down the road, Trump will do his own response to the debate? For example, since he wasn't there, other Republicans on the stage are going to be asked questions. Do you think Trump might, at one of his appearances scheduled for, say, next week in New Hampshire, decide to plan one as my response to the Fox debate and structure his appearance so that everything he talks about, or most of it, is answering the questions that were asked of the other candidates in his own? You would be surprised if he did that. Okay. Well, yes. I'm just throwing out possibilities. I don't no idea what's going to happen. I'm just trying to get the temperature of people and find out what it is that they think might happen, because until it starts, without him there are some people that aren't going to believe any of this is real, that the whole thing is a stunt. We'll be back. Don't go away. This is funny. Cookie found 3 sound bites today where they get it right. 3 sound bites. 3! Out of a soundbite roster of over 20. Okay. Let's see. Betty in Fort Myers. I'm going to do, you will save these Huckabee sound bites. They're not about me. It's about Huckabee joining Trump. He's trying to twist the screws on Cruz here, I think. I guess what the huckster's doing. But we'll get to that in a minute. Here's Betty in Fort Myers. It's great to have you. Hi.
Well, I'm a long-time Diddlehead. I've listened to you since 1988, my husband and I.
Well, you're a lifer. Thank you so much.
We really love you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm honored to be able to finally call. I'm calling to say that we've watched Fox News since it came on the air, and we loved it. And I loved Megyn Kelly. But now Megyn Kelly has become the queen of Fox News. And the things that she's done, all her shows have been, not as nice as we used to think she was. If she doesn't like you, her eyes go up, her rudeness is there. And she's become if I was her, I would have said, let me stand aside.
Let me, Betty, if I may, give you a couple things here in reaction, and you tell me what you think. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm not telling you you're wrong or anything like that. I just want to get your thoughts on another way of maybe looking at this. Megyn Kelly is, would you agree that she's a beautiful woman?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, would you also agree that may not be an asset when it comes to perceptions of talent and professionalism and competence, that people might be sidetracked by that, and so she might feel the need to do things that would cement and convey that she's not just a pretty face, that she's far more substantive and deeper than just her appearance. And in that sense, you remember her first show, when she got this 9 o'clock show, her first guest was Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz opened by congratulating her, and she wanted none of it. She didn't want it. No chumminess, no great. She asked him her first question, what's it like to be the most hated man in America? And he was just trying to be nice. And people mentioned that. And I said, I think she's just trying to establish she's serious here. She's not just a pretty face on television that's going to go buddy and chummy getting along. If she's serious, she wants to be taken seriously. And given that, you might see her do or say certain things that rub you wrong, but it may just be her effort to cut through noise and be taken seriously as a journalist, as a professional, rather than a pretty face occupying a chair.
Well, yes, I can see where that would be, because she is very lovely. But I think that she's been very disrespectful of Trump, and I think Trump is really outgoing and outsmarts them all. And I think that the rudeness that she's had, when she keeps saying, oh, I'm going to be there. Okay. I'm going to be there.
All right. Well, that's... Unfortunately, I'm up against the constraints of the programming. I'm out of time. But, Betty, we will continue with this. We'll talk. No, I don't think Trump's going to make a surprise appearance on Fox. I think Trump is going to try to cream Fox by outrating them on CNN. That's what I think is going to happen. But we shall see. And we will be back. Now, believe me, the safest thing to do is shut up about it. Oh, yeah. I mean, everything in my gut said, don't even go there. But this is a strange day, folks. I have felt constrained, partially distracted by my battery life problem all day long. Don't even get me going. I'm just so dispirited about that. I can't convey it to you. Anyway, I've been asking all you guys, what do you think possibilities are that Trump shows up tonight? Before it, during it, everybody's poo-pooing it. Nah, Russia's got this advantage. CNN. CNN's carrying this the thing with the troops. It's they're announcing it's sold out. He's got Huckabee showing up. Santorum says that he's going to be there. I hear all that. I'm just telling you. It probably makes no sense to say this, because it's just kind of thing could come back and bite you. But I'm just telling you. No, he's not going to be two places at the same time, unless the CNN thing ends up being. No, I'm just, folks, I don't think this is my gut's telling me this isn't over. There are other shoes that are going to drop here. I have told you, we're watching the way Trump negotiates. This is happening in public. The walking out, the telling Fox to pound sand, I'm not showing up. The O'Reilly begging him to come back, to forgive Megyn Kelly. I think this is exactly what happens. It's the kind of thing that happens when Trump's negotiating a business deal. We just don't see it. He's written how he does it. One of his rules is you start out with 3 times what you want. He says, now that's easy to say. It's easy to say you're going to do it. But when you're in the room and you're on the other side of the table, it's very hard to seriously tell somebody you want 3 times what you really want with commitment and belief. He said the only way he has found you really get what you want is to shoot so high at the start, because you know you're going to have to come down from your original, so you better make your original sky high. I'm talking technique. I'm not relating that specifically to what is happening here. I'm simply opining that I think what we're watching here is Trump negotiate. We just happen to be seeing it in public rather than how it normally takes place behind closed doors. Nobody sees negotiations. You hear about be they between a team and an athlete. What is that? We got a weather alert coming. Is that what I hear on an Amber Alert? Oh, is that what it was? I'm sorry, folks. You can't believe stuff going down. Tornado warnings, flash flood warnings, and now an Amber Alert. I thought it was a leaf blower. It sounded like a leaf blower. I said, what did somebody get a leaf blower in my studio? How'd that happen? So I'm just telling you what's in my gut. I have nothing. I don't know anything. I just don't think this is over. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't think this whole debate thing is settled. And I guess I'm saying I can see Trump showing up at it. Don't know. Call it a gut feeling, instinct, what have you. I have never denied my instinct. Well, no, I have denied them, but they've never betrayed me. What is this? CNN's reporting Carly Fiorina has offered Trump $2 million to attend. Are you people joking with me now? $2 million. Carly Fiorina has offered $2 million. Cruise backers offer $1.5 million for a cruise Trump debate. You see how this? No, not in Canada. Trump said he would debate Cruz in Canada. He said this at his South Carolina appearance last night. Folks, you should have seen this. There was a mile-long parade of cars, people waiting to get into wherever Trump was speaking last night in South Carolina. It was on YouTube. I watched a little bit of it, but no, I can't. I'm not making specific predictions. All I'm telling you is I just don't think this is over. I don't know what it means, but. And I know for a fact that people. Well, I don't know for a fact. I mean, I'm saying with ontological certitude, I'm very confident that the powers that be at Fox are still trying to get him there. I don't think anybody's given up on trying to get him there. This is the kind of situation he always tries to put himself in terms of negotiation. Anyway, Welcome back. Great to have you, El Rushbo, your guiding light here at the EIB Network. Telephone number is 800-282-2882 if you want to be on the program. Grab soundbites 2829. This is the huckster, Mike Huckabee, on Wolf Blitzer this afternoon. Blitzer said, now you're taking part in this so-called undercard Republican presidential debate. What time is that? 7 o'clock? The main event's at 9 p.m., right, Eastern time. So the undercard's at 7, what I call a pregame meal. And Blitzer said to Huckabee, now you're taking part in the undercard event. You plan on going over to Trump's event for veterans? Is that what you're going to do?
It's to honor the troops. You know, it's not an endorsement of Donald Trump's candidacy. I'm still running for president. We've got the caucus this Monday night. But I'm delighted to join with Donald Trump in an effort to salute veterans. And you know what? I didn't have anything going on at 8 o'clock tonight. I'll be done. So I figured, why not? Let's show the veterans our support.
Right there, it's at 8 o'clock Central Time. So Huckabee says, hey, I'll finish the undercard. I'm not endorsing Trump. I'm just going to go over there and join him in honoring the veterans. And Blitzer said, well, correct me if I'm wrong. You seem to be more comfortable with Donald Trump than you do with Senator Cruz. Is that right?
There's some positions Senator Cruz has taken that I can't figure out because I feel like there are different ones that he takes in Marshalltown, Iowa, than the ones he takes in Manhattan. And that's disconcerting to me. I want people to be straight up, stand up. I don't want them to change their view because of geography. And I also worry that Ted Cruz's financing comes from the same corporate, big business, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, hedge fund, billionaire circle that gives us the politicians that we always have. And that's why the policies never change.
No, but of course he's not endorsing Trump. No. He's just going to go join Trump over here at the veterans event. Here's McCain. Grab soundbite 20 and 21. This is McCain last night, also on CNN with Wolf Blitzer. And Blitzer's question to McCain, what do you think of Trump's decision not to attend the Republican debate on Fox? What do you think of that?
Anyone who is running for office and gets to pick who the moderator is, that's the destruction of free press as we know. I think that part of it is to blame the media. They've basically given him a free pass. He calls in on the Sunday talk shows. He decides which programs he's on and which he isn't. Media, I think, in their desperation to have him on all the time to increase ratings, has probably given him the confidence that he can decide to have a, quote, veterans event. By the way, I wish you were not using a veterans event as a way to further his own political agenda.
That, folks, that's classic El Perfecto illustration of what I have been describing as the way the elites in the establishment look at all of this. Did you hear what he said? Anyone who is running for office and gets to pick who the moderator is, that's the destruction of the free press as we know it. Translation, he doesn't get to tell the media who asks him questions or not. When you run for president, you deal with whoever the media throws at you because they're all in the club, folks. The establishment's made up of Republicans and Democrats and media people who are Republicans and Democrats, although very few Republicans. But they're all in the club, and they're all the elites. And this is just what you do. He doesn't get to pick his moderator. Nobody gets to pick the moderator. Well, the way you guys play the game, nobody gets to pick the moderator. But what if he doesn't want to play by your rules? Where is it written that to be elected president, you have to go through the two-party establishment to get there? Who's to say? If he doesn't like who's going to ask him questions based on what's happened before, Senator McCain, why should he put up with it? Your own party told NBC to go pound sand after the CNBC debate. If that's not picking your moderator, I mean, that's even worse. That's picking your network. But according to Senator McCain, you don't get to pick your network when you're running for president. You got to debate because that's the destruction of the free press. My rear end it is. Destruction of the free press. What free press? We don't have a free press now. We've got an agenda-oriented media that is simply an adjunct of the Democrat Party. People like McCain don't help a lot by playing along with it as though it's somehow objective and independent. But we all know that the media is an adjunct of the Democrat Party and lives and breathes to advance the Democrat Party agenda as well as destroy the Republican agenda. So what doesn't it make sense that somebody would come along and not want to play that game? Why do you have to play the game where the media gets to destroy you? Where the same media will not try to take out your opponents. They will not try to take out Democrats. They will not try to embarrass the Democrats. They will not try to humiliate them. They will not try to make them look bad. But it's perfectly okay for them to do so with Republicans, and you're supposed to sit there and take it. And if you don't, it's somehow threatening the freedom of the press. And look at this. I think part of it is to blame, McCain says, that they've given him a free pass. He calls in on the Sunday shows. Now, that's key. The Sunday shows, nobody calls in. The Sunday shows, in the religion of politics, the Sunday shows are church. And you don't phone that in. You put on your coat and tie and you go there. You go to the green room, you meet everybody else on the show, you hang around afterward for photos on set with the host, you get along with the other guests, then you leave and you interview with the rest of the media waiting for you outside the studio. That's your Sunday. That's when you go to church. You don't phone the Sunday shows. It just isn't done. You will never get in the club phoning the Sunday shows. You have to show up. When's the last time you were allowed to phone in church? And McCain's admitting that. He calls in the Sunday shows. He decides which programs he's on and which he isn't. What's wrong with that? Does he not? Is everybody supposed to just sit there and exercise no choice whatsoever over where you go in the media? This guy's making my point for me that I have spent so much time on yesterday. And McCain says, the media, they're selling out here for ratings. Trump gets ratings, so they'll take him any way they can get him, any time they can get him, whether he comes in here or calls in on the phone or not. And that burns them, folks. Because these are the guys that have put on their coat and tie and have gone to church every Sunday. And they've hung around with the pastor. And they've met the rest of the congregation. And when it's over, they go out the front door and they meet the junior pastors from the rest of the media. And they answer their questions. And Trump's not doing any of that. Who gives him? And now added to all this as an insult that Trump is going to do a counter event for veterans. And McCain's even offended by that. I wish he were not using veterans as a way to further his own political agenda. Seriously? Like he's the first? Anybody remember the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth? Anybody remember John Kerry reenacting the taking of Boston Harbor again? The night of the Democrat convention, his turn to make his speech there. He got on board, he was reenacting the Swift Boat guys over in Vietnam. They crossed Boston Harbor all the way over to wherever the convention hall was. It was a full-fledged effort to capitalize on the military. And the fact that the haughty John Kerry, who had served in Vietnam, seeking to remind everybody that he had. Here's Ted Cruz on Good Morning America today, speaking with Tom Llamas, Llamas. And Llamas said, you think Donald Trump is afraid to debate you personally?
Actions speak louder than words. I would welcome him in Sioux City Saturday night. We have a venue, a town hall. And at the end of the day, I don't think he's afraid of Megyn Kelly. I don't even think he's afraid of me. I think he's afraid of the people of Iowa. He doesn't want to answer their questions. He doesn't want to defend his record.
Doesn't want to answer questions, doesn't want to defend his record. What record would that be? Could it be that he doesn't want to be fade? Now, Mr. Trump, wasn't that long ago that you were on record as saying you're in favor of amnesty? Maybe he doesn't want to get those questions. I don't know. But I'm just going to reiterate, folks, I don't think whatever's going on here is over. I think the negotiations are still going on, and we're watching them take place. And I have no idea what I mean by this, because I'm not making any firm predictions. But as showbiz and politics combine into one entity, if you think something might happen tonight that you would only see in a movie or only see on television, you better start realizing that that means you can see it for real in politics, too. Be back after this. Don't go away. Say, folks, there's a lot of other interesting stuff out there, and I'm going to try to weave some of it in the next half hour. Some things going on involving the immigrant invasion in Europe. Particularly Denmark and Sweden. It is, well, it's fascinating. Well, but I'll get to that next half hour. Let's stick with the phones here. Who's next? We'll try Harry, Stevensville, Michigan. Harry, I'm glad you called. You're next on the Rush Limbaugh program. Hi.
Hi, Rush. Mega dittos.
Thank you, sir.
You've already covered it, but I called to say that I really think we're being played. It is
played by who?
By Trump, who is the master negotiator, and he is playing his game of walking away, and just as you walk away from a rug salesman. He's looking back, and I think he'll show up tonight, having won some concessions. I would go further and say that what Fox News ought to do is tell him that it's over, that it takes too long to redo all the questions and the organization of the program, and that he's out, just to ensure that doesn't happen.
Oh, okay, so there's two prongs here. You think Trump is going to show up and has made demands that certain things change, and you hope Fox tells him no?
Yes.
Well, if Fox tells him no, then he won't show up, because he's not going to show up on a contingency. Would you think he'd show up with the hopes that Fox will make the modifications he wants?
No, I think he is still negotiating. As you say, it's going on.
Right.
And I think Fox News ought to announce that they're not going to allow him to come.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. Everybody, I know that's why I was asking. I asked this question of people here on the staff about a half hour ago, and I just want to tell you from all three of them, no way. There's no way Trump can show up now. Impossible. He's already set the thing up at CNN. He's already told Fox to go pound sand. CNN's televising the Trump event. No way. Now, you have a more specific, Harry, you have a more specific image of what you think is going down. I just have something in my gut that says, and I don't know how it manifests, and I don't think we're being played. I mean, in the sense that there's we're being played, but I don't think that's the objective here. I think there's a genuine negotiation going on here, and Trump is trying to get the best deal he can, whatever that is. I have no clue. And it may be publicity stunt. I don't know. I don't know anything. I just could be dead wrong, too. It isn't over. It's all I think. All right, back to the phones in just a second here since I mentioned this. Denmark is one of these European Union countries that welcomed some of the Syrian refugees, the migrants, whatever. Not refugees. Maybe it's, what am I thinking? It's not immigrants, not illegal immigrants. Syrian, refugees. Anyway, they welcomed them in, along with Germany and a lot of other European countries. Because it was the compassionate thing to do. They're coming from strife and thirst and hunger and war-torn parts of their native homeland. They're just seeking a better life. And who are we to deny them the better life? Most of them are military-age young men. So they welcomed them in. And then the military-age young men, much as happened in Germany, Cologne, started sexually abusing a wide number, wide berth there of the female population, Germany and in Denmark and so forth. And the authorities in Germany and Denmark said, what do you guys do? You can't do that. And the migrants said, well, we're being invited to. I mean, these women are not wearing burqas, and they're coming up and they're shaking our hands, and they're where we come from. That's like saying, make a move on me. So both countries have been doing seminars, assuming it's their fault that the Syrian refugees are raping their women. And they've been doing seminars with these immigrants to tell them what's behaviorally permissible and what isn't. But now they have reached their limit in Denmark. They're getting close to it. The Danish parliament has backed wait till Bernie Sanders hears this, he's going to be flabbergasted. The Danish parliament has backed a controversial proposal to confiscate the possessions of asylum seekers to pay for their upkeep. Police will be able to seize valuables worth more than 10,000 kroner, which is about 1,340 euros, 1,000 pounds, from refugees to cover housing and food costs. Members of Parliament also approved plans to delay family reunions for asylum seekers. Family reunions? What the hell is that? Family reunions? Well, whatever, they cancel them. The bill has been widely criticized by human rights groups. The prospect of refugees having their possessions taken from them has drawn comparison to the confiscation of valuables from the Jews during World War II. The government has said that items of sentimental value, like wedding rings, will be exempt. They're not going to take those. It also raised the amount of refugees will be allowed to keep from 3,000 kroner to 10,000 following objections. Now, what do you think of this? Here come the refugees. Here come the migrants from war-torn Syria and elsewhere. And they immediately start taking things in your welfare state. I mean, you're feeding them, you're clothing them, you're housing them, you're quenching their thirst. And all of a sudden you realize you don't have the money for all this. So you know what? We're going to take some of their property, help pay for this. Why should we give it to them? This, to me, is landmark for socialist thinking. Socialists normally would write in for go tax everybody else, get money necessary to feed, clothe, and otherwise take care of the refugees. But instead, they are essentially telling the refugees, hey, if you come here, you're going to pay for it yourself. And if you don't have the money, we're going to take what you have. We're going to steal, confiscate your valuables. And the UN is on record as hating this. Socialists around the world quoted in this story are conflicted. But Denmark has had it. And I find it fascinating. Sweden is the other place that momentous things are happening. Sweden may reject the asylum applications of up to 80,000 migrants and should prepare to deport them, says the Swedish Interior Minister. Some 163,000 migrants applied for asylum in Sweden in 2015. That's the highest per capita number in Europe. The numbers have fallen significantly since Sweden imposed tighter border controls. Of the approximately 59,000 asylum cases processed in Sweden last year, 55% were accepted. The others were told, see you later, but you can't come in. And now they are preparing to reject 80,000 more for the usual reasons. They can't afford it. They don't trust the people who have shown up. So all of this left-wing socialism is collapsing on itself under the pressures of dire reality. And there's a story here at CNBC unrelated to that, but still something that, when more time permits down the road, we should explore this. The headline, Why Millennials Are Embracing Socialism. And to the extent that they are. Now, the story assumes that most millennials are socialists or favor socialism, big government, welfare state kind of policies. So assuming that that's true, the story postulates that the reason is crony capitalism. That millennials are not stupid, and they see crony capitalism going on. What they really see is businesses, groups here or there aligning with government and doing just fine. Businesses aligning with government, being taken care of. Individuals and other groups aligning with government, being taken care of. So what's wrong with getting in bed with the government? It's an interesting theory to explain why millennials are reacting to things the way they are. It's also a teachable moment, a great educational opportunity. So put that aside for later. Back to the phones. Adam in Casey, Illinois. It's great to have you, sir. Hello.
It's really cool to talk to you, Rush. Appreciate all that you do.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Calling from the People's Republic of Illinois, and I just had a quick question for you. You've been very clear that you're not endorsing any candidate. You're just explaining what Trump is doing, what's happening, and particularly between him and Fox and Megyn Kelly. But I'm curious. I know you've explained it, and I get everything you're saying, but I'm curious, what is your opinion of it?
What is my opinion of Trump's tactics? What is my opinion of Trump's behavior, strategy? Which specific?
Yeah, of his behavior with Megyn Kelly and Fox, missing the debate, making a big deal about his treatment and being treated unfairly. And do you think he's making the right decision?
Well, I have long advocated, and we could go back and find the tape. We can go back to our archives and find the transcripts. I have long advocated that Republicans in general no longer have to take it from the media. Why do we have to sit there and let the media pick our nominee every 4 years, for example? Why can't people stand up and say to various people in media, when you already know how they're going to treat you, why go there? You know, how many times have I suggested that Republicans avoid certain Sunday shows hosted by certain people? What's going to happen? You know you're not going to win anything there. You're not going to triumph there. No matter how well you do, after you're gone, they're going to portray you as something unfavorable. Why give them the chance? And I've asked Republicans this, and the answer I get, you have to do it. We can't avoid it. We can't run from the media. And I've always said, you're not running from them. You're just not giving them the chance to personally destroy you, insult you, or what have you. And I'll bet you I could find on our archives over the past 25 years, after certain presidential debates or similar type programs, I bet you I can find myself saying, why do it? Why let those people moderate? Why agree this debate commission to choose these people to moderate? Why don't you stand up for yourselves and demand your own moderators? So in that sense, I don't have a problem with this. I think that this is something I've actually urged Republicans to do as a party over the course of the whole time that I have been doing this program, because everybody knows now and agrees that the Democrats are not our only opponent. The media is as well. Republicans run against two opponents in every election. And Republicans have always just fallen back on the notion that that's just the way it is for them. That's the hand that they're dealt. That's the hand they have to play. And so there's a part of me that enjoys it, and I'll tell you why. It's the same thing I said about Trump early on. I think the real value of Donald Trump, and I might have said this the first week of his campaign, certainly within the first month, that Donald Trump is showing that you don't have to be afraid of the media. That you don't, and Republicans are. Republicans are afraid of being called racist, so they don't criticize Obama. They're afraid of being accused of the government shutdown, so they don't make a single effort to stop any of this disastrous spending. And I've always said that the value Trump brings to this is demonstrating that you don't have to fear criticizing the first black president. You don't have to fear criticizing Democrats. You don't have to fear standing up to liberal Democrat policies and saying no. And you certainly don't have to fear being accused of violating political correctness. And I still stand by that. I think there are valuable lessons being taught and demonstrated here. And frankly, one of the things that has sort of mildly surprised me is how few other Republicans have sought to take advantage of this. I was hoping that Trump would inspire similar behavior in a whole lot of these candidates, if you want to know the truth. Now, I'm not talking about the reacting to criticism in what some people think is a petty way. I'm talking about being bold. I'm talking about being fearless. I'm talking about shelving, getting rid of these generational fears of the media, fears of charges of racism, sexism, bigotry, and homophobia. Just go out and tell people who you are. Go out and be who you are. Go out and stand for what you stand for. Explain to people why. Instead of thinking the only way you can get somewhere is to convince somebody else that you're not what the Democrats or the media say about you. That's a losing proposition because nobody's been ever able to prove a negative. You just can't do it. So sadly, folks, not enough time here to take another caller. Not enough time for another inane soundbite. The GOP big debate in Iowa is tonight. And I just want to finish here by, well, it's a great career risk. The odds are I'm dead wrong about it, but I just don't think this is over. As you know, I have a very prominent gut. My prominent gut is telling me it's not over. Something's going to happen still yet involving Trump in this. Okay, folks, I'm just telling you, the size of the audience of this thing tonight could be huge. And I don't know that both sides want to let go of that. Okay, I'm an idiot. Forget I said it. Just forget it.